Thank you, Deputy Speaker. And Deputy Speaker, do my ears deceive me? I just heard a long rant from the member for Fraser, and all he talked about was the incompetence of the Victorian state government on their management of hotel quarantine. Now, as a former member of that state government, I don't want to disabuse him of that notion, but it's very rare we come into this chamber and we have such honesty from the member for Fraser, who used to sit in the Victorian Parliament. You know, echoed on and applauded on by Dan Andrews' chief advisor, the Premier of Victoria's chief advisor, the member now for Macnamara. So I welcome their contribution to this debate in saying the state government of Victoria has failed. And I can tell you, Deputy Speaker, the people know the state government of Victoria has failed. Not just failed, but failed the people in their ability through the lockdowns that have followed through from their incompetence and mismanagement of the hotel quarantine scheme. So this admission of honesty is welcome. It's a wellspring of ideas and generosity. But frankly, Deputy Speaker, it comes with a tinge of sadness, because we all accept that there are Australians overseas and we desperately want to get them home. And this has been one of the key focuses of the Morrison government. We've provided surge capacity and had repatriation flights, surge capacity around facilitating quarantine where we can in places like Howard Springs, entirely consistent with the recommendations of independent reviews. But we've also turned and worked with the states in a cooperative way to say, you have to be part of the solution, because we don't have all these facilities. We don't have the workforce, and we need to utilise it. But there is one state that has consistently stood out in letting Team Australia down. And as the member for Fraser correctly points out, and with the support of the member for Macnamara, it has been the great state of Victoria. New South Wales has accepted 4 times the number of people who have gone through Victoria through the hotel quarantine scheme. And we take our hat off to the people of New South Wales and the state government of New South Wales, because they showed it was possible, working with the Commonwealth, to get the right outcomes to allow Australians. Is it really a surprise, Deputy Speaker, that there are still Australians overseas, sadly, and we work with them every day in the Goldstein office, and I know the member for Chisholm would do the same, as would the member for Moncrief and Bowman and everywhere else, and maybe even some on the other side of the chamber too, who are still stuck over there because Melbourne Airport, the second busiest airport in the country, was shut down for so long last year. But even more egregious than that, even more outrageous than that, no, let's go right to it, even more despicably than that, the recent intervention by the State Premier of Victoria was to turn around to Australians living overseas and tell them to go get stuff, to give them the one-finger salute and say that they are not allowed.
Member for Goldstein will withdraw that comment.
I will withdraw. But the despicable behaviour that has occurred, where he said we've got to keep open the option of shutting down access to our country, denying Australian citizens a right to return to their own nation. And the member for Fraser and the member for Macnamara applauded every step of the way, because they don't care about returning Australians, which is why they run interference. It is disgraceful. And for an Australian politician to even discuss the option of denying citizens their right of return, their right to enter their own country, is one of the most despicable political acts I have ever heard of. It is completely contrary to what this government has been focused on doing. And what we've seen is more and more Australians try and get home, and the response from the Victorian Premier is to tell them that they are not welcome in their own country. So we make no apology, Deputy Speaker, for standing up and making the case for making sure Australians can come home. We make no apology for saying that we have to be part of the solution, working with the states. But what we will not be is lectured by the opposition. Those members, including members who used to be part of the government that is betraying the people of Australia and saying they are not welcome in their own country. And the member for Macnamara, who should know better because he's a former advisor of the Premier, to call him out and say his conduct is disgraceful. We're on the side of Australians, we're on the side of them coming home, and we're going to keep doing that so that Australians can enter their country.
Order.